So let me just push a button or two here. We are sitting with a process online that we've been going for a while, but obviously in the last 190 odd days, and I'm running out of the days of lockdown, but this has become quite a familiar process to run through information and to provide our schools as much support as possible. If there are any questions, please use the Q&A box and type something in there, even if it's just to let us know where you are. I sound like a stuck record when I say this. You're either ahead or behind the cold front. And it looks like we've still got cold fronts coming through because I believe Cape Town is rather cold. We've had a bit of a reprieve here in the Midlands. Today was a lovely day and the clouds are now coming through. So it looks like we are going to go into some cold weather as well. But yeah, it's great if you wouldn't mind letting us know where you are, which part of the country you're in. You don't need to type in your name. Your name will be picked up by the system. But also if you have got any questions, please feel free to type something in the question Q&A box so that we can handle the questions that come through from there. We are recording the session and the course content will be shared with you in a file, a shared file. By tomorrow will come through to you. And then also we are running through on Facebook Live at the moment as well, just so that you're aware, just to get an audience so we can pick up the details as well. And also in case people can't link into, for whatever reason, into the process. Our provincial managers, should you need to get hold of them, there are their contact details. We have got a footprint throughout the country, so please get hold of the provincial managers wherever you may be in any of the provinces. There's a provincial manager that can help you, particularly with provincial specific details as well, but obviously with anything else with regards to school management, school guidance, anything with regards to governance and management in schools. And then most importantly, Riaan van den Bergh, our manager for the Centre for Technology, his contact details are down there. And so obviously by chance that it's down there, because with that I will hand over to Riaan straight away. Good afternoon, Riaan. Great to see that your internet in Gauteng is sorted out. Riaan was bragging that he's been dropped down to 10 and 10 in Gauteng. I said, well, in the rest of the country, we've been upgraded to 10 and 10. So we're quite happy with our internet with being what it is in the Midlands. So Riaan, over to you and to Danie. Welcome to the session, and we look forward to hearing what you got to bring to us today.
Thank you, Paul. Baie dankie. Goeiemiddag van my kant af en baie welkom aan Danie wat saam met ons kuier vandag. Yeah, Tech Talk at 2 has become an institution now, and I can't believe how regular a Tuesday comes by in my life. But we're very excited with all the issues that we're discussing. I think the new normal is a phrase that everyone is kind of sick and tired of already, because this is the new normal. It's just how we do it and what we do. The Centre for Technology is always on the outlook for, just going to share my screen here quickly, on the outlook for good solutions for schools. We recently published a magazine with a lot of our Centre for Technology members in. And yes, we want to bring value to schools and talk about solutions. And I found another good solution. I think we're in the time of budget. The two issues with budget. The first one is that this is the time of the year that a school prepares its budget, and a lot of budget meetings are happening in October, so starting already. The second one is the fact that we've got to budget. We've got to cut costs and look at options that makes us more efficient with the same input, have more impact or more outcomes, better outcomes. Just referring back to Mike Schussler last Monday night, really telling us that schools need to sharpen their pencils and look at things. So there are two elements of the school budget. The one is what the school has to spend because of the net result of what parents give the school as extra funding, or what government gives the school as far as funding goes. The second one is what is available in parents' pockets. And in my neck of the woods, I don't know if Paul can agree with this, we've got a lot of parents spending a lot of extra money on tutoring, a lot of extra funding that probably could have gone either to their own household or to the school. Why are we spending a lot of time on repetition of work? So there's sense in going for tutoring, there's sense in doing extra work because of additional value. So that's the two issues that we're talking about. I quickly want to frame today's talk and discussion with Danie from DigiCampus in something that I started telling schools about 2 years ago. And this is that the world has changed. The world has changed dramatically for us in 2020. What we do and how we do it, when we do it and where we do it has always been fundamentally fixed in certain senses. And suddenly the world has changed in a big way. So what has been was that a lot of things took place in mass or in group context. Alles was in groep context. Alles was geskeduleerd en alles was op 'n spesifieke plek. So mass, scheduled and localized meant that, for argument's sake, we had third period scheduled, maths for the whole of the grade 4 23 class, and it took place in room 40. So it was a group of people on a specific schedule, and it was at a specific venue. If we look at how the world has changed, we suddenly see a fundamental shift in where a lot of people are now working personalized. We're living unscheduled, meaning by our own schedule, and we're doing it mobile. So we're on the go now wherever we go. I think some of the people in this webinar today would be joining on a mobile device, even if it's your laptop that you are not sitting at a desktop at the office, but you're doing it somewhere. So the best way that I can explain this is to look at how the world has changed in regular life. Now, just at the bottom of the screen, you see a little frame called "We have to learn as and how we live." For the past few years, we've been saying in the Center for Technology, that is what we need to do. We've got to learn as we live. And if we look at how the world has changed for us over time, we know that the way we consume information, I've got the newspaper picture there, but the newspaper at 6 o'clock is old news by 12 o'clock. So we read the news on our cell phones mainly, on our websites, in our browsers, on our computers. How we engage with others, I've got the big WhatsApp there. Family groups have WhatsApps. We don't call each other and have visits as we used to. If it's on a WhatsApp, you've communicated it. How we listen to music has changed dramatically. My kids don't know what an iPod is because it comes from the cell phone. There's a playlist on your cell phone, you rent music, you've got access to all the music, and that means that what I want, when I want it, where I want it, on what device I want it. So that we can just quickly see how the world has changed from localized, scheduled, and in mass to unscheduled, personalized, and mobile. And the best way to do that is by looking at Netflix. Netflix, you can watch anytime, anywhere, whatever show you want to. You can be sitting in the same household and one person can be looking or watching a series on their cell phone, the other one on the TV, the other one on a tablet, different shows at different times. So that's where we're framing this society that we have. Now, COVID did not bring this to us. COVID just highlighted that this has already taken place. And that's where I started talking to DigiCampus early in the year. And then it was how we book flights, how we manage our fitness and that sort of thing. But they had already made plans a while back to frame their solution into an on-demand society. Now, saying that, I've just explained what the on-demand society is. We wanted, when we wanted, how we wanted, where we wanted, and on what device we want. And even Tech Talker 2 is now on Facebook Live, and it will be on YouTube tomorrow. For anyone that missed this session, they can refer back to it on demand when they want to. So Danie, I want to welcome you. Baie dankie dat jy vandag met ons gesels. Ek bly jy is deel van die gesels vandag. DigiCampus started to address a specific problem. Maybe just introduce yourself and then talk to us about the problem that you saw, even pre-COVID, the solution that you wish to create and present to schools and not to take it away from schools, and then what is the offer to schools at the moment. So Danie du Toit, dankie dat jy saam met ons is. Introduce yourself quickly and then jump into you. Welcome to talk to us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and you'll be on the big screen.
Hey, baie dankie Riaan, waardeer. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm Danie, one of the directors at DigiCampus. Our original way into the schools was actually with a company called DigiTV, where we've got at this stage in time about 57 schools where we're providing full-time TV crews and online TV channels where they can do anything from an assembly in the morning, you know, a prize award if parents can't be there, and sports, whether it's live, whether it's VOD, and obviously building some albums. But the intention was always to actually move into the education field. We also own in the group a private FET college where we're currently training about 20,000 black youths in townships on accredited entrepreneurship training. And yeah, the obvious step from the DigiTV side was because we're throwing a lot of money into a big dark Kimberley hole and hope there's at some stage in time a tree growing. Well, moving last year, putting up a online platform for kids. We initially didn't intend to look at the school side, but the intention was to provide equal education to all 12 million children in the country. So we started off by planning 2020 originally to put up the full school curriculum from grade R to grade 12 in 7 national languages for the full academic year and all subjects, obviously. So we started off in January, not knowing that there's some Chinese manufactured virus approaching our shores by putting up the video base. And obviously COVID came, and we're very fortunate that we've got some great guys around in the office, and there was ways and means to get to the teachers we were utilizing by providing 140 virtual offices in teachers' homes across the country. So if I talk about a virtual office, what you see at the back of me is that's how the videos look like, and the lady talking there would have probably been sitting in her home, hopefully with a dog not barking, setting up the lesson. So yeah, we at this stage in time, just to give you an idea, we've got just under 9,000 video classes, and I think we're around the last time I've heard around 85% completed for a full academic year in all the grades. We've unfortunately just got 4 of the languages, with the rest following. It's just a bit of a slow process on the government side. Yeah, look, COVID regard. Yep.
Can I interrupt quickly? You're going over 4 languages as if it's lacking yet. There's very few things in 4 languages. Can you just explain to us which languages it is? And what's the plan with following on to the next languages? If you say it's the government's handbrake and not yours, can you just elaborate on the multi-language offer that you have?
Yeah, so at this stage in time, thank you, Riaan. I actually forgot to mention that. So at this stage in time, we've got Afrikaans, we've got English, we've got Xhosa from grade R to grade 3, and we've got Zulu grade R to grade 3, and then I think from grade 10 to grade 12. Obviously, according to the curriculum, it should only be grade R to grade 3. The KZN department requested to look at the FET side as well in their language. The interesting thing was 99.9% was in English in any case. So at least we've got a bit of a duplication, and hopefully kids can learn from that. But yeah, so the things that COVID learned us, because as I said earlier, originally we only focused on the individual. But we realized during COVID, listening to people, I'm married to a teacher, listening to her frustrations. We've seen in the media parents bitching about not being able to learn. My wife receiving WhatsApps at 10 o'clock at night. We were fortunate by accident, and I won't mention the school, that we got a kind of a, what do you call it? They actually tested their teachers on what their roles was and what they felt about what went wrong at their school and so forth during COVID. We got some of that information back. And what we've done is we've actually built all of that into our platform, ensuring that mother doesn't have to look over Putti's shoulder for 8 hours a day, suddenly turning into a teacher. The teachers being able to check whether Yanni is actually learning at home, testing them, making sure that there's traction. So we've ended up with a platform that actually is trying to digitize the full educational ecosystem, if I can call it that. So on one platform, we've got the ability for provincial government to be part of that platform. We've got the ability for district officers to be part of that platform. We've got the opportunity for schools to be part of that platform, and I'll go into a bit more detail with regards to the schools. We've also got the opportunity for Danie to be part of that system. They already can watch it for free. And then another important one is if parents are at home and Danie is sitting, are at work and Danie is sitting at home, they've got the opportunity as well to see the progress. Whether the progress is by way of looking through the stuff or working through the stuff, whether it is by the kid being tested what he's actually grasped of the topic, they'll be able to see the progress, whether at home or not. So that's what we've built. So from a school perspective, for interest sake, so the thing that I've picked up during the COVID, and luckily some of our marriages lasted this, whoever is married to a teacher, was the fact that they didn't have one system to actually manage this. Obviously, the first month was absolute chaos. From a government perspective, from a school perspective, the teachers didn't know what to do. And eventually, they learned how to start up computers with some green buttons and that kind of stuff. But the interesting thing was that all of the stuff was done on different platforms. Now, the messaging was done on WhatsApp. Some of them used Google Classroom, and then they changed to Microsoft Teams. Then they went with cars to schools, and I don't know, in like a drive-through kind of thing, delivered some printed material, etc., etc. And we said, well, is there any way that we can digitally get that onto a platform that all of that's in one place? And that's what we've built. So, for instance, the benefits for a school going onto the DigiCampus would be you've got your own branded platform. Your teachers can add whatever content they want to add. If they want to borrow some of our videos, they can use it. They can do their own videos. They can do tests on each and every topic that's automatically marked. So you can test your kids' progress throughout that. Now, being married to a teacher that's been in the industry for 30 years, they don't believe that digital is the way to go. And we, from a business perspective, accepts that. I think at this stage in time, the higher education side will certainly latch onto this. We're in that space, and we can see that already, that there's a massive shift. But, the social interaction and all that kind of stuff with kids is important. Sport is still important. Culture is important. All those other kind of things that makes it a rounded person at the end of the day is fairly important. So from our perspective, we see this currently as a tool. I think there's huge opportunities from a school's perspective. People are talking about a flipped classroom kind of effect. Now, suddenly your kids has got the opportunity to come informed into a class, and you can discuss the general stuff around it to make the topics a lot more interesting and understandable for people that doesn't understand it. I think a couple of the big things there is you've got the opportunity to do revision. So the stuff is there available, and I think Riaan mentioned it a bit earlier with regards to Netflix. So if you go and write exams in November, you've got the opportunity to go back to January's class and actually redo it and go back to that class where you wouldn't have had the opportunity at this stage in time. So there's a huge amount of those kind of things. I think for a start, it's a lot of detail for a teacher, especially with a short curriculum going forward and people writing exams in 2 months' time and all that kind of stuff, to actually get the content on there. But if your first year is done properly, thereafter, it's really maintenance. You've got some opportunities to improve it, and improve your classes. So I think from that perspective, from a teacher's side, there's huge opportunities. Your first year is going to be absolute chaos. But thereafter, it's going to improve whatever you do. You've got the opportunity to do most of your classes automatically. It's marked automatically. You don't have to sit at home and mark with a red pen or a green pen or whatever the case is and try and add up with a calculator what the scores are, etc. It's all done for you. And you'll understand exactly with each kid what it is there. So we've also built in artificial intelligence. So you'll pick up immediately which kids are actually slower than others. So, there's a couple of great things that will come out of the data. But just to come back to the school side, I think there's a couple of other things that's very important, except for the fact that the management has got the opportunity now through the back end of the system to understand exactly how it's going by teacher, by subject, by kit if they want to, and see where the problem areas is they can fix that. Things that I think will certainly go forward in a digital way would, for instance, be we doing our first online, is it called the annual general meeting? Riaan, I'm not too familiar with those kind of names, where the voting will actually physically take place online through an app.
It's the budget
the
approval.
Yeah.
The general annual the parents meeting for the budget approval. Yes.
Correct. Yeah. So you'll be able to, your parents will be able to watch it from home. They'll be able to vote online for that. But there's a couple of other things as well. I'm thinking about, for instance, the class visits every now and then that schools arranges. You know, there's no reason why, similar to how we're talking here now, that those kind of classes can be arranged for specific times, you know, and the teachers can make sure that each and every kid and their parents gets the opportunity to talk. For instance, me as a parent didn't miss one sport game, but I've never been, in the 14 years my kids were at school, at one of these class stuff, you know. So I think those kind of things will certainly change. But from a teacher perspective, we've also, on the school side, we've built in a platform where the teachers will be able to do digitally their CPD points online. There will be courses available, etc., 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 and a couple of other important things that could make a difference. But I don't want to elaborate on those now. But yes, I think, Riaan, from that perspective, I just want to have a quick look here. The one thing that I did miss is we've also built a blended learning facility into the platform. So it basically means if your kids are again away for 2 weeks, you've got the opportunity, except for the fact that there's content digitally available online whenever they want to look at it or learn it. You'll also have the ability to actually do a live class if you want to. There's a messaging system built into the app. You know, all those kind of things that was missing during COVID, you know, we've tried to cover. Riaan, I don't know whether there's any questions or answers from your side. I think one small little point that I would like to mention as a last point. Let's talk about video. And I can't see the other participants here. I can see Riaan hasn't got hair. I've got grey hair. I mean, all of us has been on Facebook, and I don't know how many billion people they've got on Facebook at this stage in time. But if you look at our kids today, they're already away from Facebook into Instagram, TikTok that Trump now wants to fire out of the States. And the movement's away to video. I think obviously the next movements would be virtual reality and all those kind of things. Hopefully I'm retired by then, but I think video is the future. I think there's a huge opportunity with video to do translations. We've also got the ability for any illiterate person in our country suddenly now to start learning how to read and write without having to have the ability to read and write to learn. You know, so I think video is there to stay. Unfortunately, the cost of video is substantial. We were very fortunate with the DigiTV thing that we got the ability to do that. But hopefully there's some other companies that can come onto board as well. Thank you.
Danie, I want to pick up on thanks so much for that. I want to pick up on a few things. You're not off the hook yet. Just starting with your final comment about video. I think on your website you mentioned that the human brain actually consumes information, I don't know, 60 times or 60,000 times faster in video. Correct. If I look at my own life and people around me, you don't read the manual of any product anymore. You YouTube a how-to video to install a TV, to install a Wi-Fi router, to fix something on your car. There's someone on the video tells you what to do rather than you reading from top left to bottom right and figuring out if the terminology makes sense to you, because you hear it as well as see it. Now, maybe some psychology or scientific approach to your statement on your website about how quick one possibly learns during video compared to during, you know, what you mentioned earlier was the WhatsApp class. Daily Maverick published a article yesterday, I think, is the title was, is WhatsApp the answer to the South African education problem? Because it really filled a gap, but video makes so much more sense if you talk YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, that kind of thing. Do you have some scientific background?
Yeah, look, I mean, we've obviously done a substantial amount of background on that. You've just mentioned the one. I think the most important one, and we probably didn't do it that well, is again that even if it's video, the attention span on a video is 100% up till 2 minutes, and thereafter it starts disappearing. Another scientific fact on that as well, and that's the important thing, and I've picked up through the universities in Africa through a webinar 2 or 3 months back, is that there's a huge difference between having a physical class and having a digital class. Because you can imagine if you need to sit and listen to somebody for 30 minutes in front of you, they need to do something right that keep you engaged into that. You know, so there's a couple of scenarios, and a lot of guys have got their own views as well. You know, but yeah, video is certainly the way to go. But again, there's a couple of other factors that's very important, and I think the length of videos or the length of lessons is crucial. I want to give an interesting stat on that. So the average class is what, 45 minutes. I'm not too sure how long the classes are these days at school. So a while back, and I think it's reduced, we've tried to do the topics, and a lot of topics happens over a week. So it'll be 2 or 3 classes and the topic is finished. Our average video time per topic, and that's probably a week's work, is 13 minutes. So it just gives you an indication of how much wasted time is actually in a class. Look, it's not necessarily wasted. There's some social stuff and talking here and talking there, and some people getting a clap and so forth. But the point is, you know, 13 minutes for a week's work as an interesting fact.
Yes, so I mean, we can debate that over a long span. You see the TED Talks are around about 12, 13 minutes, and then even adults disengage, and that's some of the best speakers in the world. So maybe just to jump back into practicalities of DigiCampus and the platform you have available. In my mind, I just want to dissect this very complex egg a little bit, unscramble it in a way. What I hear you say is that you've got a platform, a structure that a school can use to put up their own lessons and engage with their own student community or learner community and parents. And this is pre-COVID and post-COVID, but would have been great during COVID. And it probably plays to the fact that in my mind, a few years ago, we've already started talking about why don't you permanently a lesson because you repeat it all the time. And every day, pre-COVID, every day in South Africa, there are teachers absent and there are learners absent. It's just the way it is. There's no 100% attendance in a school. Every day, that absent learner needs to catch up. Even if a learner is in class, you know, the lights could be on, but there's no movement inside. It's after break, and my girlfriend broke up with me during break time, and I'm sitting in math, but I'm not paying attention. My body is there, but my mind's not there. So every day there could be absent-minded learners in class. Every day there's a learner that did pay attention, but wants to do revision or homework that day, and the teacher needs to talk again. And that's where the 10 o'clock at night WhatsApp group comes into play. Then there's the end of the term assessment or the end of the year exam. So what I see is that a lesson probably has 5 or 6 times the mileage if recorded or permanentized, not necessarily recorded, so that the learner can go back to my opening statement on demand back to that, or the parent can go back to that and say, but I want to help my kids, because at my kids' school, there's a parent WhatsApp group, and the one mom says, can someone help me with the long division so that I can help my kid with the long division? You know, so there's even that sense where the parent wants to use it. So by permanentizing it, the school gets so much more value out of their highest budget element, which is salaries. They just get more mileage out of that. That's the one thing. The second thing, just clarify that for us. The second thing is you have recorded lessons of high quality teachers presented in 4 languages, as you mentioned earlier, and a school or a learner can access that. So there's the platform, empty with a structure, and then there's the platform already pre-populated that one can you just tell us how can a school or a teacher or a learner access the already existing stuff, and is there a cost at the moment, or what's the business model or the cost in the future?
Yeah, so let's talk about the classes always available. If we finished up our classes last year, I think there would have been a lot less interruption during COVID, because it's always available. So whether it's revision, whether there's a breakdown similar to COVID, you've got it available. And I think, you know, that's the beauty of it. There's a lot of kids, certainly not mine, but that prefer to do revision prior to getting into class. Suddenly they've got the availability to do that, you know. And yeah, I think for parents, especially primary school parents that had an absolute nightmare, it would have certainly made sense. I think that the thing that we're lacking at this stage in time, a class is not fulfilled without all the additional information that they require, and that's what we're busy working on now, and we've got some joint ventures, but that you can have a full digital class available online. Video is one part of it, but you also need some notes. You also need some references of the whole wide world of YouTube links, etc., etc. And then you need to be tested what you read or listened to. So I think from that perspective, but yeah, once it's there, it's there. You know, hopefully we've got money in 20 years' time and it'll still be there. But it's available. So just yeah, on the school side, you're absolutely right. So they will be able to either use our videos and or do their own videos. They can put up their own stuff. They're welcome to share it with the rest of the country, but they can also keep it in-house. We always talk about some ego schools, but if you let's talk about finances and needless to say, salaries. And I know there's a lot of teachers, unfortunately, that's losing their jobs. What I've heard from just around Pretoria, this is not there to replace a teacher. At this stage in time, we see it as a tool, especially in a school environment situation. But you've got huge opportunities. The Western Cape, for instance, said their biggest nightmare is the first day in Jan, where they've got 190 or 200 registrations at a primary school. When the first day arrives, there's not enough infrastructure. This will also create the opportunity for you to have a class of 100 children instead of 20 or 30. You know, so you've got all those kind of different opportunities in order to try and stretch your budget. So just quickly from a school's perspective, from a teacher, from a parent and a pupil perspective, the website's free of charge. You can go to digicampus.co.za and it's available. The intention was always to provide equal education for all 12 million children. So we can't do that if we charge money to an individual to learn. So it will be for free, and the board has made the decision that we'll keep it like that. From a school's perspective, we need to create the platform for each and every school. It's white labeled. It's on the DigiCampus platform. They will have all the functionalities available. We do charge a small fee for that, either on a monthly or annual basis. It won't rock the boat. And they'll be able to utilize whatever functions there is. I don't know if I've missed something, Riaan.
No, that sounds good. So it's free to parents and learners currently. And I've got a grade 4 daughter, so I've looked at your grade 4 maths and science, and it's just a teacher that's around there. Yeah, so ek was 'n roofkyker vir 'n paar dae, and so what I hear is it's already available and it's for free. A school that wants to engage on a formal basis will have to contract with you to use the platform, either to utilize your videos as part of their lesson rollout or to add their own videos and Digi Classroom in a broader spectrum. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, when some of the same opinion, the digital classroom will not already digital teacher will not necessarily replace the teacher in the class, but it's a tool additional to that. So it saves the teacher a ton of time, which is the biggest scarce resource. So you can either permanentize yourself and have that time available in the future, or you can draw on the resources of a good lesson, an 8-minute lesson, a 6-minute lesson, and show that to your class and say, now let's have an exercise about that. So there's a few things about it. The other thing is, a school can manage it and drip feed, if that's a good word. You don't want the smart acts in the class to just run through revision before a class, great, but you don't want someone to do the fourth quarter work in the first quarter maybe, and you've got to manage it. But it's all available and you can manage it, or I'm assuming you point your learners in the right direction. And then the other thing is you don't lose your school's own learning DNA, even if you use other materials, so you can still apply your own DNA. So it plays to quite a few things, and not to be seen as a threat to, okay, we're going to close up schools and everyone's going to sit at home, because I don't think that is the plan. I think most parents are not homeschoolers at this point in time in their minds after the COVID time, because there's a big value in the construct of the social construct, the well-rounded development of a school. That's what I'm hearing you saying. Am I summarizing in the right direction here? Just putting in my own words. So it's a tool available. It's free to learners and parents at the moment. The school can engage with you, but it's up and running at the moment, and people can go ahead. No one's got to be shy of lessons to catch up on.
100%, Riaan, you're 100% right. There's something I actually missed when I was talking about the school side that I think could give some good value for thought. We've had a couple of schools that actually approached us to start looking at potentially creating a digital school channel. We've signed up one joint venture with a high school. I won't mention names at this stage in time. The plan is to start rolling it out in January. And we had a couple of primary schools, one specifically in Pretoria, from where we are. And the interesting fact was, most of those that's looking at that was actually the primary school, as an example, reckons about 30% of their children is not going to go back to school next year. And there's a potential for them going on to homeschooling. And they thought, well, if that's the possibility, is there any potential that they can actually retain those children? Because obviously they're losing a substantial amount of income by losing the children. So the digital school side, as a side channel, obviously it's got its nightmares, because you can't expect a current teacher to run a digital school as well. So, but it's just another thought process. There must be schools that's really going to feel quite a blow, over the next coming months, and there could be opportunities to try and retain some of your children.
Good stuff. I like that. I think our sector needs to get far more creative and innovative. It's difficult to work within the construct of the Department of Education, so one's got to see how that space plays out. I've got a great question that I want to lead in with a topic of my own. But thank you for that question. And I don't know if the person wants me to mention his name, because he can come in and maybe we can discuss that. But I've been telling schools over the last year that a position or an appointment with School of Thought, the SGB, should be someone called the CIO. Like business has a CEO, CFO, COO. I think it's time for our schools to work within the Chief Information Officer space, which entails digitizing processes, which entails understanding data, which you alluded to. The platform is not just a delivery platform, but it collects a ton of data as to engagement, marking, or the artificial intelligence in the testing and that sort of thing. So the world of the CIO, I think, is the way schools are open. Chief Information Officer, possibly Chief Integration Officer, Chief Officer, and you've got 3 CIOs. But that's the direction that I'm thinking that someone on an SGB should be out. The question that I want to pose to you now is, do you think the next appointment at a school is a school digital manager at schools, where you produce video, everything digital graphics, that sort of expert, rather than making the teacher the digital expert, but you get an integration specialist with digital skills so that the teacher focuses on the delivery and the curriculum and the content, but there's someone that digital to that question. Is that the next big appointment at a school?
Look, it's possible. I think you know, if we take small baby steps, I think the school first needs to understand how they want to digitize, because I think that's the important one, and that's probably where we're lacking. I mean, if you look at our education, and you can probably take the agricultural industry there too. It's probably the two industries that's actually been lacking quite a bit. You know, getting digital, but certainly there's certainly space for that. Well, the content is probably more important, but look, I think, you know, once the virtual reality and those kind of things sinks in, there's no doubt in my mind it could actually be more than one, because I don't think one would be in any case enough to do all those kind of goodies. I think at this stage in time, if you just look at Africa and you look at what we're doing here, and Bayou is one of the biggest educational digital platforms in India. You know, they've got simple videos. So I think the days of having a super sport studio and, you know, all these kind of stuff is probably gone. But where you're absolutely right is the fact that you need to keep the kid and or parent engaged in the class. And it's not necessarily a teacher, or myself even for that matter, that would be able to do that properly.
Brilliant. Danie, we've come to the end of our time together, and I really think it's been insightful, starting with where we started with WhatsApp communication, which I still think is fairly effective and quick off the bat. But the only reason it is because we understand that people have smartphones that run an app, and that there's some sort of light data that makes communication available. I find it very difficult to understand that a lot of people say, you know, we can't do anything because we don't have cell phones and data. So how do we tell everyone everything on WhatsApp? There's a dichotomy in that, but your campus is available to a school for the school's own use, or for learners and parents with the content you have available now. And I see in the background, obviously you've designed some green screen campus or studios, which makes it look like it's a professional delivered product. So yeah, I really enjoy it. And up to the point where we consider having possibly a digital leg or digital stream at our school, solving a lot of the capacity issues at some schools, which, I mean, you mentioned the Western Cape. I think Gauteng is under the most pressure as far as lack of schools compared to number of applications to schools. So who knows, this might just turn into a good plan. Just give us that website address again to go for a free lesson, or check out the free lesson. It's digicampus.co.za. Just confirm.
Yeah, it's digicampus.co.za. You're absolutely welcome to go and have a look. If you've got any queries, or you don't like something, or you're missing something, please get in contact with us. There's an email address on the website. I've got a feeling there's a call center number as well. I can't recall exactly whether we've added it. But yes, digicampus.co.za.
And you just register, you start watching the videos that are available. If you want to have your child do some extra lessons now, it's available for free. Danie, thank you so much. I really appreciate all the stuff that you've been doing in the school space over the last few months. Yeah, just good luck with what you're doing, and let's see if we can get some schools to onboard. Have a look at your platform. I'm going to hand over to Paul Renken. I don't know if, Danie, if there's a last comment from you. Otherwise, I'm going to hand over to Paul Renken to close for us. If you're happy, Danie, just great. Thanks from us. Just give us a wave. So,
thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate. Keep up.
Brilliant. Thanks, Danie. Paul, over to you. You can close Tech Talk at 2 for us today.
I'll do it quite differently. I'd like to invite Danie to attend our governing body meeting on Monday. I don't want to let the secret out the bag, and I've had a careful look at the attendees on list, so I don't think I'll spread this too far. This is the thought process that I'm trying to get into our governing body. Unfortunately, the governing body that I serve with, let me say it that way. Unfortunately, I've only got 3 months to implement anything at this stage. So I'm getting a little bit anxious about where we're going to go. But that whole digital idea, I think, is something we've got to start exploring properly. And this ties in, Danie, with Mike Schussler's talk a while ago. He spoke about the economy and where we're going and the kind of doom and gloom. And then saying, let's start thinking creatively. Let's start thinking about solutions that are going to be worthwhile solutions. Let's not throw away the last 180 days of learning. You chaps are obviously ahead of the curve, so that's fantastic. But yeah, I think it's a thought process that governing bodies need to seriously consider in the processes that they're going forward. So I might take some of this recording and play it into our governing body meeting on Monday night, Donnie, if you don't mind, just to try and get those creative juices going a bit so people can start thinking beyond just the doom and gloom. And I think that's quite important. So thanks very much for that. I'm just going to share a few final slides before we close off. Thanks for everybody's involvement. The website, just so that you are aware of it, please go to our website. Please follow our details on the website. It's important to pop into that website at least once a week and find out where the information is. En dan in die toekoms het ons nog 'n paar webinare wat nog in die volgende paar weke inkom voordat ons skole sluit. Ons praat oor aanstellingprosesse met SPL vakature. And then on top of that, we're also looking at CCMA, how to manage the process. We don't want to say how to fight the CCMA, but we are concerned that there's going to be some serious issues coming forward, and we'd like to try and equip schools with regards to that. And then just a gentle reminder to some of my senior management here, we've got a very difficult session to discuss racial harmony and transformation in schools, really to try and give schools a bit of guidance in that very difficult space. Just to remind you to have a look at the Tech Talk e-magazine. I did put the link in the Q&A box or the chat box. And yeah, please go have a look through that. It gives you a lot of wonderful ideas that exactly what Danie's speaking about. Let's look at some creative solutions. And those solutions are out there already, folks. So we need to actually look for them and then find them as we go through. And then lastly, just our provincial managers, wherever they may be throughout the country. There's quite a number of them on board today as well. So thank you for your attendance. They're up to speed with where things are going and the thought processes, and they're helping us move forward in the process. So thanks for all the provincial managers that are on board. Sorry I didn't bump too many people up today. Normally we do, but I think we had some good conversation going through here in the panel session that we ran through there. And then lastly, Riaan, thank you very much for your involvement. Thanks for the time that you put together. As you say, these Tech Talk Tuesdays are becoming an institution, if we want to call it that. They're coming through Foster and Foster. I kind of know that on Monday I'm going to get or on Thursday rather, Wednesday or Thursday, I'm going to get a phone call from Riaan, and we've got the next one running through. So it's really fantastic. Hopefully you folks are gaining out of this information, finding solutions for your individual schools, from your governing body side, from the school management side, finding processes that actually work for your schools. So last word over to you, Riaan. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, just maybe a word on next week. We're talking to D6 group. They're launching something that's going to help schools do some fundraising. They've got two elements. The one is local listings, so kind of the yellow pages that's going to be in the D6 app, and the revenue is being shared with the school. And I spoke to the CEO, and he says a school can make up to 6,000 Rand a month if you really advertise well on their platform in your local community. The second one is a talent platform. So if you want to do whatever your school's name is, Howick High's Got Talent, you can do a YouTube talent show through their platform and have some votes, and 5 Rand a vote and 100 Rand for a video to be loaded. And the next thing you can have, 10, 15,000 Rand worth of. One of the case studies is a case study that I think the school made 12,000 Rand in 24 hours. So please join next week. We're trying to solve the economic pressure issues and looking at solutions for schools. So join us next week. Thank you for joining today. See you again next week. Thanks so much.
Excellent. Thanks very much, everybody. Goodbye.
Cheers. Go well.